So, good morning everyone. I am Dr. Shruti Shirvadkar. I am Associate Professor in the Department of Ophthalmology, Lokmanya Tilak Municipal Medical College. Uh, Firstly, I would like to thank Dr. Natarajan sir to give me this opportunity to speak on this topic. Dr. Natarajan has been associated with our department since many years now, and we are really fortunate to have him as our guide for our PGs also.
Dr. Shruti,
So,
Doctor, what is
after
your
this extensive
Shruti?
and
No, you can. We have time, so you can give some whatever comments or appreciation for Dr. Avik.
yeah, actually it was very wonderful and extensive presentation by Dr. Avik. Very nice. So, okay. Okay. So coming to my topic, it is miraculous eye saving in cases of intraocular foreign bodies. So our hospital, Sion Hospital, being a trauma center, we come across many trauma cases in day-to-day our life. So it varies from a simple corneal lacerations, corneal tears to extensive cases like this, where there is auto-enucleation of the eyes, where forget salvaging the eyes, but salvaging life is at risk. So I'll be talking about three of our cases. The first one had come in 2015. A 35 years old male working as a ward boy came with alleged history of accidental injury to his right eye while operating the oxygen cylinder while he was working in the hospital. And he complained of sudden painful diminution of vision of the right eye, and there was foreign body sensation, pain and watering. So when he came, the vision, there was a lid edema, the vision had dropped to PLPR accurate, and it was associated with subconjunctival hemorrhage. Unfortunately, I don't have a pre-operative photo, but there was a corneoscleral tear at 1 o'clock position with an embedded piece of glass particle which was vertically in the anteroposterior part of the globe, and the pupil was pricked superiorly with iris prolapse through the corneal tear. Lens had become cataractous and vitreous had come in the wound. So we sent him for the CT. So CT, as you can see, this is the axial view of the CT scan orbit showing a foreign body. This is a coronal view showing a foreign body which was measuring around 2.8 centimeter by 2.3 centimeter by 4.1 mm. Hyperdense foreign body noted in the right eyeball coursing antero-posteriorly just superomedial to the right lens, involving the lens and extending to the posterior wall of the right eyeball. So this patient had sustained an open different approach. Any associated ocular abnormalities also should be ruled out. So IOABs are generally frequently enter the eye through the cornea 65% of the time. They enter through the sclera 25% of the time and through the limbus 10% of the time. And they are frequently lodged in the vitreous cavity most of the time around 61%, but can also be seen in the anterior chamber near the retina or near the lens, or it can even go subretinal. So there are different methods of IOAB removal. One of them, especially for the metallic foreign bodies, is by using a magnet. So there are different kinds of magnets which can be used. The first one being a Boston external electromagnets, which is a bigger in size, and the second one, the below one, is intraocular rare earth magnets. There are different kinds of forceps which are available for IOAB removal. The complications of IOAB or any trauma could be endophthalmitis, retinal detachment with proliferative vitreoretinopathy. There could be metallosis, especially in cases of iron foreign bodies or a copper foreign bodies. It can induce siderosis or chalcosis respectively. There could be subretinal neovascularization. So there are different papers which have been published which suggest that IOABs, it is important to consider all the open globe injuries to have an IOAB until and unless proven otherwise. So whenever any open globe injuries come, we send them for some radiological investigation. And there are other publications which suggest that delay in IOAB extraction or presence of intraocular hemorrhage, preoperative retinal detachment, primary surgical repair combined with IOP removal are the predictive factors for anatomical failure. Another thing is this OTS score, especially for our PGs. we show them that initially whenever the patient comes to you, according to his vision at the time of presentation, suppose he has a no PL vision, then his raw score is 60. If he has a vision of PL or hand movements close to face, then he has a vision, raw points of 70. More than that, then the raw points increases. And the other factors, like suppose it is associated with a globe rupture or endophthalmitis or a perforating injury, or it may be associated with retinal detachment. So the points get subtracted from the initial raw points, and whatever the final outcome or final raw points are there, depending on that, you can give the patients assurance. Like the patients, basically these trauma cases are very young patients, and they are very much like anxious about their final visual acuity or visual prognosis. So they come to us whenever they are coming for the follow-up, that when will my vision return back. So for such patients, you can give some assurance that by the end of this 3 months or by the end of this thing, your vision will be this much. So this is just for the theoretical point of view, but then this is good for them to give some assurance. So the take-home message would be, managing ophthalmic trauma is challenging. Clinical and surgical skills and equipment vary from place to place and country to country. The management of serious eye injury requires a variety of alternative strategies. In general, if a healthcare worker can diagnose and treat a condition and recognize the complication, then he or she should manage the case. Thank you so much.